There we go.
Mm.
All right. And we're back with another edition of the Scotty No Show. We have Chris Hull on the show, a.k.a. Pierre's most interesting man.
That's a stretch, brother. I already said that. But
yeah, you took offense to that. Why?
Not offense. It's just, I don't know. I always say that I'm like a fifth generation white kid from the Indian reservation who had a loud mouth and was just funny enough to get girls and not get beat up. So I don't know about interesting man. I mean, I'm 48 and I got a kid and a mortgage and an awesome wife and a house full of dogs. But yeah, I mean, it's a great moniker. I'll take it. I mean, I'm thinking about putting it on the back of a T-shirt or something. So.
Oh yeah. So I think the first time I met you was at state hockey a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you were dressed like Don Cherry.
Right. And you were like one of 4 people that got that reference, right? And,
yeah.
That's just something I've been in okay cover bands forever. And my wife just started buying me like crazy shorts and clothes and stuff. So when I go up on stage, I just wear it. And she just kind of goes, yeah, that's my husband. And I picked that out. And, when I got the call from my friend Tom Neiman and Midco, and I went, okay, you guys know what you're getting into, right? I mean, I am who I am. I'm going to be funny. And I'm going to like, you're doing the call and I'm wearing this get up, right? And my goal is to make my friends who are listening or watching the game and the crew guys who are in your headphones to make them laugh, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you guys are okay with that? And they were like, absolutely. So yeah, so the Don Cherry stuff, and then I kind of turned it into a few hockey jerseys and stuff too. So yeah, that's kind of behind that. But you were one of the only guys I came walking in. You're like, hey, Don Cherry. I'm like, you're Scotty Millard. And yeah, we've never met.
Yeah. A real Pat McAfee type.
Right,
kinda.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the last name, I have to ask, no relation to Brett?
No, I've got to meet Brett and Bobby. No relation there, but I do have I have a cousin, Todd Okerlund, who played on the '88 Olympic hockey team. Played for, I think he had 4 or 5 games with the Islanders. Shout out Frankie Borelli and Borelli's, but played University of Minnesota. Really good player, but had a chronic knee problem. I think he had 4 games with the Islanders, had like 15 penalty minutes, and his knee just was shot. So I do have a hockey background, but not with the Hull name. So
okay,
right.
You mentioned the last name Okerlund. You probably got some good Mean Gene stories.
Yeah, I do. And I was just talking with my dad about it. My dad's here from up in northern Minnesota. My brother owns a bar way up in northern Minnesota. And I was talking to him, and he was telling me some Mean Gene stories that I didn't even know about. So Mean Gene Okerlund from Sisseton, wrestling, Hall of Fame and AWA, got to start in the AWA, but also in the South Dakota Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Gene Carroll and the Shades, you can find it on YouTube. Go listen, you'll die laughing. Super talented guy, and was just a radio DJ out of college. He went to school in Lincoln. But yeah, Gene was a really, really cool guy. So growing up, he was in the AWA, like Kurt Hennig and Barry Blackwell and all these guys, and we weren't a wrestling family until he started doing it, and then he would call out our names on like Saturday or Sunday, depending upon when you were going to get the replay of it.
Really?
And then we started getting to be big wrestling fans. So Gene was great. He would come around. He had a couple nephews that just loved to duck hunt, and Gene was a really good duck hunter too. And they would show up, and they'd get up at the crack of dawn, like on a Saturday, and we'd crawl around, and they would crawl for miles to get up on mallards, and they would shoot their mallards, and then we would go and just like go fart around and fish and stuff. But Gene was great. Like later in life, when I'd moved to Pierre, and he was kind of towards the end of his career in the WWE and the WCW. I got to go to Sturgis Road Wild,
mm-hmm.
and it was kind of for my job, but Gene kind of got me in backstage. And that was when like Rodman was there. Remember when Rodman did all that stuff?
So that would have been 99. I went to the Monday Nitro in Sioux Falls.
Right. I was there at that one as well. But so we're sitting, and just one funny story, Gene, we're sitting there backstage and all the wrestlers are eating, right? And the food is craft services and catering is fantastic, but it's all the wrestlers. And by this time I had met Gene and Hulk Hogan were super close. So I am a Hulk Bobo. Like Gene was in Hulk's wedding, and I mean so I'm a Hulk guy because of that. And he was always like, hey little brother, and he'd pick you up, and so we're sitting there, and literally at like in the Dakota Mart parking lot in Sturgis, there's a giant tent.
Yep.
It's all the craft services, and Gene goes, "You're gonna want to sit at this table." And I look at him, and I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "No, seriously, you're gonna want to sit at this table." So Buff Bagwell is sitting right next to me, like 2 feet away, and I think the guy was named the Cat.
Oh, Ernest the Cat Miller.
Yeah. And he's Taekwondo, big background, and it was Bischoff's kids karate teacher. Yep. And he was like a scary dude, right? So they were gonna wrestle that night, and Gene sat me down, and then he went and sat somewhere else. And I'm like, "You're my cousin," and I'm kind of here because I want to sit with you. Granted, I was working for tourism, I was doing some like actually official stuff too. And within about 3 minutes, these guys are talking through the match, and they're arguing, and they're pointing across from each other. And this was, imagine you're a freshman at Lyman County High School, and the two biggest football players who hate each other are sitting there. And it was about 3 seconds, and the Cat jumps from sitting position, somehow gets his legs out and up and over the table, and just proceeds to beat the living hell in real life out of Buff Bagwell. There was blood, and there was wrestlers flying everywhere, and food went everywhere. And I look up, and Gene's standing there just staring at me, dying laughing, because he knew it was going to happen. But he just set me up. He's like, "No, you want to sit right here." And I should have known, because nobody else was sitting at that table, right? So, Gene always kind of had that in him. I mean, he's a South Dakota guy, through and through. And there was always something going on when he was around. He's super magnetic guy, and nice and super talented. Go look up Gene Carroll in the Shades. You can find it on YouTube, and you'll die laughing. I mean, he traveled all over it when he was in college, and even in high school, playing music to the old ballrooms and stuff. And that's a cool thing to just kind of go back to and just look back. And we got autographs and like the little Gene, like the wrestling dolls, and I have all the Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. I still have on all the VCR tapes and stuff. And
wow,
yeah. So, and cool stuff. And then like the Mean Gene Burgers. A little later on in life, he had a couple of nephews who are married into the Schwann's family and Orion Foods. So he kind of got to do some of that, and then ended up suing them because they had trademarked Mean Gene. And there was always a ton of stories. There was always a ton of stories with him, and it's just one of those cool, like weird, 1 degree of separation family things. But whenever he came around, he always had cool stories. Or he'd hand stuff around, and like him and the Iron Sheik were really good buddies. And I think Gene was in that wedding. And so yeah, it was just one of those cool things. And his kids and his nephews and stuff are still really good to us. And when I was in Grand Forks going to school, one of his boys was there writing. He was a sports writer for the paper, and got to hang around and run around UND hockey and stuff a lot too.
Okay. Yeah. I had never got to meet Mean Gene, but probably my favorite story that I've heard from him is from a guy by the name of Conrad Thompson. He married into the Flair family. He's married. Right. Yeah, he's married to Rick's oldest daughter, I think.
Right.
And he was at a bar with Gene, and Gene was just like the center of attention, just talking to women and sipping on some clear ones, as Conrad would say.
Oh yeah. He liked the vodka a lot. He was good at it.
And he asked Gene what he was doing. He's like, "I'm just trying to keep my pencil sharp."
Right.
I love that story. I actually have a Buff Bagwell story myself.
Really?
Yes, I was in Dallas, Texas at WrestleMania. I pull into my hotel, and the valet takes the hotel, my car, parks it wherever. I go and bring my stuff up to my room, go outside, decide to walk around Dallas, downtown Dallas, and Buff Bagwell is outside. I don't know if you know this, but Buff Bagwell is or at a time was a male
Oh yeah.
prostitute.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. And he was on the phone with a client, and he needed to know where he was, and I had to tell him where he was.
Providing the hookups. Providing the
Yeah.
hookups.
Yeah.
You're a long way from Lyman County at that point, my friend.
Yep. I do have to take issue a little bit with you calling me a Lyman County legend. I like to call myself a South Dakota legend.
Okay, well, I'm selling you short then.
Yeah, because I mean, grew up in Lyman County,
right?
But from about 6th grade on, I was in Hill City.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And then out east, of course, at SDSU, I've climbed mountains and seen people I know on top of the mountain already.
Right.
It's just the wildest thing ever.
Yeah.
Some a little bit of movie talk here. I have that in my next little topic here. You do have a little bit of a movie background too, don't you?
Yeah. So graduated from college, went to 2 years at the University of North Dakota. Thought I was a good baseball player, found out I was not nearly enough as good, and had a college roommate who was a hockey player who got me into every bar I wanted to get into, and figured out that college was great, but school was hard when you didn't go. So finished at the University of South Dakota, and I did 2 internships at the South Dakota State Senate back in like 93, 94, something like that, and got in with Governor Janklo's Lieutenant Governor Carol Hillard, who's from Deadwood, and probably one of the coolest ladies I've ever met. I mean, gracious and classy and smart, and she was just one of my favorite people. And I got to be on the road with her, and we got beat by Thune in the primary for Congress, and ended up getting a job at the South Dakota Department of Tourism just from being around there. And within a year, there's a thing, this tourism still kind of does it, but most states have what's called a film office, and they they market states or cities or whatever for movies, TV, commercials. So you market them, you go shoot photos of locations, and then you, like, if somebody calls and says, I want to do a BMW commercial, you're in the Badlands. So then you go and help them through all the permitting and do all the stuff, and you get local crews and stuff. So I ran that film office for about 10 years and got to do a ton of fun stuff. I mean, stuff like with Mean Gene, those productions, or, like you'd have a BMW commercial, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but they'd spend, 15 days in Wall in the fall and spend $1.5 million locally between food and crew and stuff. So it was a ton of fun. Got to spend a lot of time, traveling around and doing stuff. Get to go to the Sundance Film Festival a couple times. Yeah, it was really fun, and got to do a lot of fun stuff and market the state. And just it was a really cool time. But you're gone all the time, and you think you're going to have these projects, and then they stop calling, and then you find out, oh, they went to Calgary. And like, oh man, but yeah. So I got to do a ton of fun stuff with that job. That was a cool job.
So have you seen Space Jam 2 yet?
No.
Okay.
Don't know how I feel about that. Just like Clerks 3, we got back and forth a little bit on it today. I mean, I'm sure I'll get my 13-year-old daughter to watch it, and just because I'm a sports movie junkie anyway, and I'll watch it. Did they kill off Bugs Bunny?
Yeah.
See, I'm against that already.
Spoiler alert.
Like the iconic cartoon character of my age, and you kill him off. Did LeBron? LeBron pulled the trigger, didn't he? Did LeBron flop and then Bugs' head exploded?
No.
I don't really want it.
I mean, you want me to spoil it? Because I will.
No, because I will watch it. So
okay.
I have not seen Space Jam 2 yet.
Okay. But I mean, Clerks 3, do we really need that?
Yeah, I'm on the fence. After you and I were kind of going back and forth on social media a little bit, a bunch of my friends were like, "Why wouldn't you want that?" I said, "Because those are that's my iconic,
Oh yeah.
one of those underground movies that nobody saw." And then I watched it and went, "Wow, these guys filmed this for nothing and sold their souls to
Hmm.
get it there." And I still quote, Clerks, but I did like Chasing Amy and Mallrats, and Clerks 2 was okay, and Silent Bob and Jason, those are good. Do you need them? I don't know. But I'm also okay with seeing a movie with those guys' age, and I
Yeah.
trust Kevin Smith to put out a decent movie, other than the Ben Affleck J-Lo thing that I still haven't seen. But I don't know.
That
I'll for sure
Geely?
watch it. I mean, yeah, Geely.
Yeah.
I'll for sure watch it. I mean, it's Kevin Smith, and to shoot it like how they did in the first one, but it's kind of like like Slapshot is my favorite movie of all time, and Hard Day's Night is one of my favorite movies of all time. Help and
Okay.
Slapshot 2 both sucked, right? So it's
Yeah.
don't ruin it, but at the same time, I guess I trust Kevin Smith, and I'll probably get Raz for that too. But he's a good filmmaker, and they're still funny. So what the heck?
There is a Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I think it's on Hulu, but I still
Right?
haven't seen it.
Yeah, I watched that, and it's okay. But it's the more you love it, the more you kind of like let them get away with some stuff and
Yeah.
appreciate the stuff that does the callbacks, and so yeah, I think that starts shooting in like 10 days or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm a sucker. I'm in. They can have my
So
$10, whatever.
what are some of your favorite movies?
Oh, for sure. Slapshot would be way up on top. Like I said, Hard Day's Night, because I was such a music guy growing up, and the Beatles, and just like really the first music video that was an hour and a half long, and still good enough acting, and hilarious. Just like I said, sports movies. I'm a sports movie junkie. I mean, I sit through Netflix at 1 o'clock in the morning and flick through and go, huh. You click on it, you're like, okay, that wasn't terrible, but it was, it's now 3 o'clock and I should have went to bed. But those two are easily on the top of the list. Tarantino stuff is
Oh,
always gets me. Like I love the Grindhouse double feature. I watched
yes.
that. I got that for Christmas. My wife got that for Christmas for me one year, and I stayed up and watched them both twice. And they came down for
Wow.
Christmas morning, and I just getting through the Robert Rodriguez zombie movie for the second time, and she's like, "You haven't gone to bed," and I was going to get up anyway. So, yeah, just that film noir kind of stuff. I just watched the Gunpowder and Milkshakes on Netflix.
Hmm.
Kind of a, a female. She works for this thing called The Firm, and she's an assassin, and her
Okay.
mom left her, and she picks up. It's just that kind of that quirky stuff. But yeah, it just yeah, a huge Tarantino fan, but it goes beyond that. But for sure, that my top two are Slapshot and Hard Day's Night. I've seen them. Yellow Submarine. That when my daughter was
Okay.
born, her whole room was painted in those cartoons, and so I don't know. I'm just kind of like my music taste. I'm kind of all over the board, but Slapshot easily number one. Seen it probably 50 times.
You a horror movie guy?
Uh, I kind of am. I got to see Blair Witch at its
At
first time
Sundance?
it was really ever shown at Sundance, and that
Really?
one, yeah, that tipped me over. I mean, I felt like I'd been on a roller coaster, but yeah, I got to see that at Sundance, and I was just like, okay, that's really really good, because and I like the Freddy Krueger and some of that like campier, like just slasher stuff where it's like I don't have to be really scared. Like hated The Ring. Um,
Yeah.
uh, when I was a kid, my brother kept me up one night when my parents were gone, and we watched Salem's Lot, and I still have the nightmare of the brother knocking on the window when he's a vampire. So, but I love like Stephen King books. I've read them all like 3 or 4 times each. So
Okay.
yeah, not a giant horror guy, but I like the horror slasher movies. But Blair Witch was one of those where And I think that was just because I was there at Sundance and caught the buzz, and you're like, whoa, that's okay, that's something new, right? So,
Yeah. We kind of talked about this a little bit last night. Some movies that couldn't be made today, and that's because I was watching The Nutty Professor, and just
right, yeah,
the amount of fat jokes and fat
right,
shaming, you could not do that
right.
today.
No, and like now that you bring it up, like Mel Brooks, those
Blazing
movies
Saddles,
when I was a kid,
that's on my
it's not just
list.
Blazing Saddles, but it's the history of the world and all those. You watch them now and go, oh my god, and I'm so happy for the day where I picked up Blazing Saddles on a DVD and then a Blu-ray and then like the digital download, because someday those are going to be gone, and for better or worse. But if you take them in the context of what they were made and how they like, Mel Brooks is hated in Hollywood for a long time, but he just did it, and it's just like they're so good. But yeah, Nutty Professor, and I hadn't even thought of it until you brought it up. It's like, yeah, you're right, man. The fat shaming jokes and you ain't making that today.
No. So I have 8 movies that I don't think could be, and these are not in any particular order, but I just want to get your take on these. Super bad.
You think?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. Because like, when was the last time you saw a sex comedy?
Right. And yeah, you're probably right, but I mean, there's still guys like Kevin Smith, and I got to believe that if Seth Rogen wanted to make Superbad today, somebody would greenlight it.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd try to cancel him, but he's such a goofy genius but yeah, he'd certainly get persecuted for doing it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Blazing Saddles. I
for
mean,
sure.
obviously. Soul Man.
I went and saw Soul Man on a date in Siston. We used to have a theater. It was terrible. And there's no way. Yeah, there's no way. I mean, nobody would ever take that role, right?
No.
And yeah, that's good. That's good. I really like that. Yeah.
C. Thomas Howell, well, I don't know if he was the same after that.
He might not have been seen since then.
Yeah. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. I think we just have a better understanding of gay rights now.
Right, for sure.
White Chicks. I don't think you could make that.
Yeah, not even going from that spin. Yeah, you're probably right there. I did see that. It's forgettable.
Along with Superbad, I mean, you couldn't make American Pie. You couldn't get away with a guy fucking apple pie.
Yeah, just for that scene alone. But yeah, I mean, Eugene Levy's in it, so he gets a pass there. But yeah, you probably couldn't. At least that scene, you might have to insinuate it where there's pie all over a room or something. But and you don't see those movies anymore either. Like 10 years ago or further, I guess, like American Pie and all those Superbad, those silly like teen comedies. Like, I guess teenagers don't have stupid fun anymore.
I think they died out. Like, the last sex comedy I think I remember was probably Project X.
Right.
That was the last one I remembered, and that was 2011.
Wow, your memory is crazy. But so yeah, 10 years ago, and I guess that ran its course. But I just like, maybe we're not portraying teens as being able to have stupid fun and throw giant parties and have sex with apple pies anymore. I don't know. Or have sex with Tara Reid. Maybe that's what killed it.
These next two, and it's just for a couple of different elements of it. Big. I don't know if you could make Big, and let me tell you why. So there's a part in that where Tom Hanks has relations with with a woman, and
but he's a little kid.
Yeah, but he's a little kid. Like, mentally, he's like a little kid, but physically, he looks like Tom Hanks. I don't know if you could get away with that now.
Yeah, maybe Tom Hanks could still make that movie, but probably not anybody else, right?
No.
The nicest guy in the world just had, as a child, had sex with A woman that, yeah, I'm not going to go there, but yeah, you're probably right.
And then number 8, Back to the Future. Because I mean, he goes back in time, his mom sees him and hits on him, and it's just like, ew, like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, they probably just wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, not only could you not make them, nobody would buy it, right? Or nobody would produce it.
Yeah, nobody wants to see. They've been talking forever about doing a 4th one. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see I don't want to see old Michael J. Fox.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, they're just those squeamish, squirmy things that.
Yeah.
I know. How do we take ourselves seriously?
I know. Wow. I know. So
that's
now
a good list.
Yeah. So now we
got 2 more?
No. But now we got sports talk. Have you seen the whole Deion Sanders thing today?
Mm-mm.
So Deion was at he was at the SWAC media day, because they're just about to start the season, and somebody asked him, a question and addressed him as Deion, and he got mad because he's like, you don't call Nick Saban Nick, you don't call me Deion, you call me Coach. And people are upset about that.
So here's the thing. Nick Saban hasn't been, like, he's Deion, right? It's like Prince or Pierre or Madonna or
prime time.
He's been pumping himself and branding. It's a brand, right?
Yeah.
And I get he's trying to divulge himself from that brand. But man, if that's the hill he's going to die on now, he's already got a problem. I mean,
yeah.
And I get it. I'm trying to shift from that and be taken seriously. But I mean, take it from somebody who's not one iota as successful as Deion, obviously. But I know when I go out on stage and I'm playing in the okayest rock band, cover band you'll ever hear, I know I'm the clown, right? I'm there to entertain.
Yep.
And Deion has made billions of dollars doing that, right? Deion's, there are maybe a handful of cornerbacks in the NFL that had as much talent as him, but he took himself to the next level because he understood how to brand and then created this persona on that brand and got to where he had this opportunity to now coach a SWAC team, which is, let's take a hard right from Barstool and doing this stuff, and I'm going to go coach now. You're Deion. You could do whatever you want. You're going to have that opportunity. So now for doing that, probably a little disingenuous, but and I'll go back to this, Scotty. Like when I was in the film industry doing that stuff, you're dealing with a lot of super successful people. When's the last time somebody told Deion Sanders no?
That's a very good point.
Right. And I'm not saying, he's entertaining and he's probably a really good coach because he's got the football skills, but there are at some point these guys or women never hear no. Right. Mm-hmm. So how do you control him? How do you control Justin Bieber if you're his manager, if you're his road manager? When's the last time he ever heard no? Right. Yeah. They don't, because if you tell them no, you get fired and then they get somebody else in there. Right.
Yep.
So I don't know. That's a little. I have a hard time with that. He's Deion. I mean, I'm surprised the guy didn't call him primetime, for God's sake.
Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers turned down a contract extension that would have made him the highest paid player in the NFL. I think
was that confirmed?
I think that was confirmed.
Then
I think Schefter was talking about that today.
Okay, so he wants out then, right? I mean,
I think he either wants out or he wants the GM out.
Right, and that's you get to that level there again. Aaron Rodgers doesn't hear no very often, and it started out as what I feel disrespected because they weren't insulting me, and that's we've heard that 100 times in professional sports.
Yep.
Does he have that gravitas? Does he have that pull?
I don't know.
If I'm a Packers fan, he's won one ring, but he's
Yeah,
been the best
exactly.
quarterback forever, and he's just kind of picked his way how to deal with it. And I'm lifelong Vikings fan, hate all Packer, whatever, but him on McAfee is must watch. It
Yes.
really is. Super smart guy, sort of condescending, sort of kind of smarmy and stuff, but I'm just like, you know what? I kind of like him now. I mean, just because if you get to that point in your career, you and you think you can pull it off, go for it. And if not, you got a Super Bowl ring and you'll never have to buy another drink in Green Bay if you ever want to go back. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And so, uh, yeah, that one's a tough one for me because I should say good. I'm glad he turned it down. I hope the Packers have to start Don
Mhm.
Majkowski, opening day.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah. But take your shot, man. I mean, you've got that pull at least in your brain, and people are whispering in your ear, and you feel disrespected, and you think you can do it. Great. Now I can't do that because they would tell me to pack my stuff up, and I'd be looking to DJ down at one of the local radio stations, or have them go up to Eagle Butte and DJ up there or something. But if you think you got the pull, go for it, I guess.
So it was reported last week, I think it was another Adam Schefter thing. Tom Brady apparently played all of last year with like a torn MCL or something like that in his knee. I call bullshit on that. There's no way you would be able to play on that. There's no way.
Not week after week. No way. I mean, and granted, I know, like those guys are top level athletes and stuff, but I'm 48 and still playing, B League peer softball, and you get hurt. I mean, it's just like, I think I broke my leg, and you're like, the next day you're swollen up, and you're like, okay, a week later you're fine. But you don't have 400-pound guys trying to take your head off.
Yeah.
And that's the legend of Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And I think if you ever asked Peyton Manning or any of these other, newly retired high level quarterbacks, they would probably say something like, no way.
Speaking of Manning, I forgot to write this down, but it was announced I think earlier this week that Monday Night Football is going to have a kind of a different, like a simulcast of the Manning brothers calling the game.
All in. I'm a Peyton Manning
love that.
Man.
I love that.
From and my dad still rolls his eyes. He's sitting upstairs, and I'm sure he's listening to me. But from a young age, I was a Tennessee fan, and it's got to be the Hunter Orange, right? And there's no other reason. So when I got my job with tourism, got to go and start meeting people, and met a bunch of people from Tennessee. And I've got some really good friends from Tennessee. I've been to Neyland Stadium like 7 times. First time I ever went, a really good friend of mine was dating Todd Helton, who was the quarterback in Tennessee, who got replaced by Peyton. Peyton is I'm a Peyton Bobo, man. I love that guy. I moved to Pierre, and it was the Leaf Manning, who's going 1 and 2, and I just went, if you don't think like Peyton Manning's going to be a great quarterback, you're an idiot. So yeah, I'm a Peyton Manning guy. I guarantee you I will be watching that simulcast. Guarantee.
I saw it on ESPN. Sources are saying it's been okayed. A-Rod now owns the Timberwolves.
So okay, bye, I guess. A giant Garnett fan. I'm an 80s basketball guy. Larry Bird, is my legend. I got a stuffed Larry Bird doll sitting right over my shoulder. Kevin McHale and I were born in the same hometown. Watched him play high school basketball when I was just little. Got a picture with me sitting on his shoulders. His arms are about this big around.
Really?
Giant KG fan. I mean, I had a dog named KG after Kevin Garnett. It's never, they've never, it's that small market. I'm trying not to pay attention to the Bucks game now, but I love the small market stuff.
How is that going, by the way?
I turned it off because I was too But it and the funny thing is they tried to build that district down there in Minneapolis. My brother lived on Nicolay Island, right between Minneapolis and St. Paul, on the island, right underneath the big Schmidt beer sign.
Yep.
And we would go to games, and you could walk to games. And it was like this district, and there's all this stuff going on, and you'd go to a Timberwolves game even when they were decent, and there was nobody there. So I don't know, man. It sucks. I hate A-Rod, and now he owns the Timberwolves, but they suck. So I guess it's like I got other things to worry about. But
they're
and Glenn Taylor, Minnesota guy, one of us, and kind of thing, and we've got it in the contract. You can't move the team. Well, I was at the last Minnesota North Stars game where Neil Broughton, who's a friend, actually a family friend of ours, came out after the game against the Blackhawks. The Stars had made the Stanley Cup Finals the year before. Came out, Norm Green's moving the team collapses. We're all bawling, and I just went, teams can leave, don't care anymore, So maybe if it was the Vikings, I would freak out, and the Twins, I'd be a little upset, but bye. Bye, Felicia.
The thing about him, being in the contract, not moving them and whatever, if he moves them to Seattle and we get the Sonics back, all is forgiven.
I'm probably okay with that. I'm okay with that. And then it should be in there that Durant has to go to Seattle immediately.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. 100% okay with that.
So I kind of want to play a little bit of a game with you.
Sure.
If you're ready. So last week it was trending on Twitter. Twitter user EM Hudson tweeted, dudes can literally just sit around and name old sports players and just have the best time.
Yes.
So let's name some guys.
Okay.
So you want me to start?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Doug McCavich.
Impossible name to spell. Fell in love with that guy because he was a first baseman who could really field and hit a lot of singles. He was a poor man's Mark Grace.
Oh, I like it. Oh,
am I wrong? I mean,
no, you're not.
I think it was his second or third year. He, going in the last month of the season, he was going to win. He was going to win the batting title.
Yeah.
And still can't fit his whole name on the back of the jersey, right? There's like one vowel in there. Okay, I see. I'm gonna go Minnesota here all day long. Let's go Bucks basketball. Brad Lowhouse.
Ooh. Okay. Corey Koski. While we're at it,
another good Twin, big guy. See, another thing. Like I grew up. So Ken Herbeck's ex-wife was my best friend's cousin. So we hunted with Herbeck and got to meet all these guys. So we could go Ron Coomer from there. So, great. Well, and Coomer's a surprise because he's been really good in the booth for the Cubs.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. He doesn't get to do it all the time, but yeah, he's brilliant.
So speaking of Koski, I believe his son plays baseball for Augustana.
He does. And then I just saw, was Koski playing town ball in Minnesota and somebody was roasting him on the internet?
That might be Trevor Plouffe. I don't know.
No, I think it was Koski.
Okay.
Because Koski's kid hit a home run in town ball, and then Koski did, and it caught a little fire on the internet, and then people were just roasting him for like, dude, you were an MLB player and now you're playing town ball. He still wants to play. He's playing with his kids.
Yeah.
So
let's take things to the hockey realm. Rob Blake.
Ooh. Yeah. Would probably knock out a tooth just if you looked at him wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you say Rob Blake, and then I just immediately go Slapshot. Toe Blake, old time hockey. Eddie Shore. Ed Belfour, UND guy. He was there before me, and they won a championship. When I was at UND, they were garbage, but all my friends were hockey players. But got to meet him, and you want to see a guy just pound hard alcohol and just get up and be fine. Yeah, Ed Belfour could do it. He was, he's probably my favorite goalie of all time, for sure.
Eric Lindros. That's one of my favorite players for some reason.
So I had a Lindros jersey, and my brother just roasted me for it.
Really?
And my brother's a Minnesota hockey. Like and I kind of am too. If you didn't grow up and play hockey in Minnesota or, Central Canada, you're a puss, right? But Lindros, man, he could have been so good if that brain problem, right? I mean, that head problem. And that was weird too, because that was at a time where like it was still, you didn't talk about those kind of injuries. Like if you didn't see an arm hanging or a leg or teeth blown up or blood everywhere, you were a sissy and you should be playing. And afterwards there's stories of him just like throwing up for days, like playing games and just throwing up all the time because his head was so messed up, right? And I think that was even before like any of the CTE stuff in football. And Lindros was just this giant human being who had just ungodly hands and could score and was fast, played defense and would mix it up. And it was just, that was one of those things, he never probably even got the credit when he was playing because, those situations were there and they were like, but yeah, he's not hockey tough, right? It's just like, dude, that's his brain. Like you're going to cuck somebody's brain. That's like cucking the sun, like Riggs from Barstool, it's his brain. Like, it would be interesting to sit down, like, and just talk to him and just, can you function? And was it worth it? Like, should you have done the Barry Sanders and the first time that happened, just be like, no, I'm out. Or Robert Smith, no, I'm out. There's a good name that pulled out of nowhere from Vikings fandom.
Yeah.
And just go, no, I'm out. I need to function for the rest of my life. I have $10 million. I'm good. No, Lindros was great. Jeremy Roenick, one of my favorites. Jeremy Roenick and Chris Chelios. So when the Stars left, my brother and I remember having a conversation after that game going, all right, we got to pick a team. And he goes, well, I'm picking the Red Wings because they got all these Russians and they're fast and stuff. And I'm like, I'm picking the Hawks because they got Belfour and they got some Americans and they're tough as hell, and so yeah, like my daughter wears 27 for Jenny Finch in fast pitch, but I'm like, no, that's 27 for Jeremy. No, that's JR.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as a New York Ranger fan, I must say Brian Leetch was one of my favorite players.
For sure.
Yeah. And then, if we want to go football, I have to shout out my cousin Levi Brackey for this. We got to talk about Rich Gannon. I love Rich Gannon.
I was going to say Rich Gannon and then Steve Dills, who was Rich Gannon before Rich Gannon was. Yeah, Gannon might be one of the most undersold, underrated. Played for the Vikings and he was good. He just didn't have a whole lot around him. And then, kind of went out and all of a sudden he's playing, on the West Coast and people are like, oh shit, this guy's pretty good, right?
Oh, so,
yeah, that's a good one.
Had a pretty good career with the Chiefs, I think, at one point too.
Right.
Steve Berline, that's another name. Gus Frerotte is one of my favorite players, mainly because he headbutted a wall and gave himself a concussion.
The headbutt and laid himself out. Did Berline, was he like a UCLA or USC guy? Big, like, I can't remember. I'm trying to think back.
I think he was.
But I want to say that, right? Todd, if we're going to go that way, let's go the other way and go Todd Marinovich.
Oh my gosh.
The Robo QB. I've got probably 20 Todd Marinovich rookie cards somewhere in my base or in my attic. And that was probably the first like rock star college quarterback, that just got blown, like was bigger than just Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
Sports Illustrated was the must. You got like insisting we'd get it on a Wednesday. And there was, in the fall, man, the college section always had, what's Marinovich doing? He's just this monster kid. His dad, he's programmed to do all this stuff. like the can't miss project or the can't miss prospect, and then just like right. So
Yeah. So I mean, lastly, I mean, before we get done with this, I believe you have some Lyman County legend stories.
I've got a lot of
I
Lyman
know.
County legend stories. Before we leave, though, Friday night, my band, Side
True.
Hackers,
Yes.
playing at the Spur on Friday
Yep.
night with Tiger and the crew there. So come out. And then Saturday night, where you're at Drifters for Amelia Rounds, a little girl who's got cancer. We're doing a fundraiser.
Ooh.
So that's going to be outside on a flatbed too. So big weekend of music. I'm the okayest musician you'll ever hear. I don't even know if I'm a musician. I'm a drummer and a singer, but
I was gonna say, is that a guitar in the background?
yeah, there's a guitar, there's a cajon, there's a mandolin that I don't really know how to play back here.
Okay.
I can play ukulele.
Ooh, okay.
Right. That's just because I like to sit and drink and sing.
You know, I do have to ask, how was it with the because I believe you guys opened for like Jody Messina at one point.
Yeah. So my first concert I ever saw, 4 years old, in Hibbing, Minnesota, was Ronnie Millsap.
Yep.
So Friday night in Deadwood at Wild Bill Days, we've done that gig quite a few times, like 7 or 8 times. Got to see Ronnie Millsap. He's like 78 years old, blind, unbelievable, can still sing. People everywhere. But Saturday night for Jody Messina, so they have it on Main Street. You can, if you buy a cup, you can drink beer and wine out of cups. There's people everywhere. And Saturday night from Jody Messina, from the Bullock, where the stage is, all the way up to the Franklin, was packed. And it was, when we played, we played at probably 6 o'clock or something like that. There was probably 4,000 or 5,000 people around there. So it was like, I'm jacked up and it's hot, but I'm bouncing around like a crazy man. By the time she played, they were all the way back to the Franklin. And I'm like, yeah, there's too many people here. I gotta go. It was a madhouse, probably 10,000 people. She can put on a show. She's a rock star. She jumps around like crazy. Can sing like a bird. She's a powerhouse. So that was cool.
Still beautiful as ever, I'm sure.
Yeah. Still just a square jawed knockout, man. She really is. Really cool. We got to talk to her afterwards, and yeah, they say it's interesting because they pull like the tour buses right up behind the stage, and you don't think they're listening until they come out. And you're kind of wearing out, and like her guitar player came out. Was like, yeah, I was standing there. He's like, you guys work really hard at it. And I said, well, it's because we're not talented, so I have to work harder, right? I got to be the trained monkey. It goes back to being the hey, look at me, kind of thing. But ton of fun. But yeah, good music. So if people are out, go out and support it. I mean, the Spurs doing that. That's a free thing, and they just want to kind of get everybody back out and rolling. And then the Drifters thing, that's a good cause too. And so that'll be a ton of fun. But what were we talking about before? What was your last question?
I was gonna ask a story about like somebody posted in your comment section. Does this look infected? And my first thought was A, great Sum 41 album,
right,
and B, what's that story about?
So I found out early. I've been in Pierre half my life, 24 years, and started playing softball in Pierre, and found out early that I had a lot of kindred spirits in Preshow.
Yep.
It started with like Dean Ruman and some of those guys, Snooter, and I mean that whole crew. And I was playing softball with those guys, and then it worked to like Chicken, Brock Scott, and the Bracky Boys, and Jed McNaughton, and
oh my god,
and all those guys. Ike, they're all.
I love Jed.
Yes, they're great guys, and I've had a lot of fun with them. And we played softball. As serious of South Dakota softball you can get, right? We play about every weekend, but there was this thing I started doing with Slack, Dean Ruman, who Dean played softball with my wife's dad way back in the day.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, so Dean, even at that point, he was a little long in the tooth, but you'd never out hustle him, you'd never outwork him, and he was always screaming in the dugout and howling around. So before the games, we would all, it started in Deadwood, I think, at one of those like all weekend tournaments. You play pool play on Friday and Saturday, and then Saturday night you start playing a double elimination. Just ridiculous amount of games. So we'd all put baby gold bond on, or at least a few of us would. And then after the game, Dean was sitting there and he'd pulled a muscle or something, and he was kind of stretching himself out. And there's people everywhere. And his boy Ike was probably, he wasn't old enough to be drinking yet. No, I don't think he was. And I just dropped trowel and just bent over and tapped Slack on the shoulder and went, "Hey, Slack, is this infected?" And he turned around and he's just like, "Oh my God." So that whole story was like, every tournament we ever played, I would wait until he wasn't paying attention, and then I would do that. And so, I mean, it was tournament after tournament. So the whole team would be waiting for it, right? And Slack, his mind's going 100 miles in 100 different directions, and I'd always get him, and he'd be like, "I can still smell the baby gold bond to this day." And so, yeah, it's just, we've had a lot of fun playing, we're playing the street dance and press show in a couple weeks. And every time I go down there, it's just like the kindred spirits. Like, let's just drink a lot of Busch Light and not have a lot of drama and just have fun. And whether it's St. Patty's Day or a street dance or a softball tournament and stuff, it's just, and like Murray and Donnie Coble, like Donnie's like, I was texting him before we came on and stuff. And all those guys are just like, they're super kindred spirits. And it's like, I go down there and I just laugh. We were down there for an ice fishing tournament and I had a vehicle breakdown. We're sitting there at the bowling alley, and Carl's not there, but he's just texting me, "Hey, I heard you broke down. You could just stay at my house and you could take my truck." And we've got all these guys like John England and all these guys are like, "You stay in here. Here's my truck." I was like, "You guys just stop. I appreciate it, but it's kind of overwhelming." And this buddy of mine from Huron's like, "What's going on?" I said, "Of all the places in the world that I want to be sitting in a bar with a broke down vehicle, Presho, South Dakota is 1A, 1B, 2, 7, and 10. I mean, so it's just, kind of that kindred spirit thing. I mean, I think it's even that way a little bit with you and I. Didn't really know you, and then all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, he's a Lyman County kid," and then I started hearing stories about you, and I'm like, "Okay."
Oh God, what did you hear?
Oh, I've heard plenty. So nothing we're gonna share here, but
Oh, I mean, I can refute anything that you might know. Come on, let's hear something.
No, we're not gonna.
All right,
we'll save those for another day. But no, and it's just, those guys, like, and I'm not even gonna say who it was. We were coming back from a tournament. Adam Birch, who owns the field house here in town, we're taking back roads back from the Presho softball tournament because I needed to play at Mitch's grandstand that night. I was playing music, and I'm in my old beat up white truck, and we're hauling down a gravel road, and all of a sudden this Presho legend sits up in the back seat of in the back of my pickup, and I'm like, "What?" And we didn't know he was there, and like he just jumped out and started walking, and I had his bat bag, and like, yeah, it goes on, but definitely kindred spirits in Presho and Kennebec and Reliance even.
I mean, you did talk a little bit about it. How awesome is Busch Light?
It's the nectar of the gods. It's the end all and be all. I'm good at a lot of things, or very few things, but drinking a lot of Busch Light is one of them. It's very much on the top of the list.
For those that haven't heard your band, what kind of music do you play?
Just, it's cover rock. And someday I'll be 100 air from all the money I've made playing cover music. I'm telling you, I'm going to have like a room full of nickels, like Scrooge McDuck in DuckTales. Remember when he's spitting out the gold balloons? Room full of nickels. But no, it's, you think like when Tom Petty died, we got together and we were like, all right, we're going to do an entire night of nothing but Tom Petty. So it's Petty, it's Steve Miller, it's Bruce Springsteen, it's some Beatles, it's the Stones, it's stuff, a lot of stuff that every cover band does. But then we do enough stuff where we'll do something and people will just look and go, "I've never heard a band do that." Like Jay Ferguson's Thunder Island, one of my favorite yacht rock songs of all time. Do that, So we pick out enough stuff that like throws curveballs, and I'm lucky to have Lonnie Schumacher playing bass, who's a 2-time South Dakota Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, he knows every song. You can't throw anything that was written before probably 88 to 90, he'll be like, oh yeah, I know that. And he'll just start like playing it 20 times better and faster and extra stuff. And Ryan Beck, Drummond, who's played with Lonnie forever. Bieber Rounds, who's super solid on guitar and can sing, and Lonnie can sing way high, even higher than I can. So it's just one of those things where we were all playing in different bands, and we kind of got together and went, let's just start our own and just be a okay, fun band. And we play enough country to not get thrown out of a place like Press Show if we're going to play the street dance at White River or wherever. But yeah, so it's mainly cover stuff. We've done a few original songs, but every time I do original song, I just want to make people laugh. So there's like Hickeys and Boone's Farm and Bush Light in the lyrics and stuff.
Yeah.
So not much of that because people don't want to hear what I think. They just want to hear the songs they want to go out and rub buckles to and dance to.
I do have to say my least favorite thing that a band will ever do, and I think it's Dustin Evans was the first person I ever saw do this. And they will perform at a street dance, small town and such, and then they'll use the name of the town in like a song lyric. Like instead of God Bless Texas, he sang God Bless Presho, and I'm like,
right,
this is awful. Don't do that.
So I like early in my career, I used to do that, and Lonnie Schumacher, my bass player, just went, yeah, you got to stop that. And he's like, if you're going to do it, you got to make it clever and make it kind of work. So we do a Steve Miller song that I've done forever that I work in all the Northeast South Dakota towns in the lyrics, but it's not just like God Bless Presho. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
But yeah. It's fun. It's one of those things that I've always done, and I quit doing it for a while and like didn't realize how miserable I was. I think it's because I'm the clown, right? I want to be the center of attention and actually make $100 in a night or whatever, So yeah, it's one of those things that's just, and my brother played music, rock, like original hard rock music out of the cities for 20 years. And so did my sister-in-law. Traveled all over the world. Like my brother traveled with White Zombie and opened up on a worldwide tour for them and played with Motorhead multiple times, did all these things. And he's like, yeah, you do that cover music, but someday I'll do your own stuff. And I was like, no, I don't have enough to say. So
Motorhead, kind of the inspiration for this beard, actually.
Right. Yeah. And my brother's got some legendary Lemmy stories that are
my God,
actually quite scary, but yeah, it's just one of those things that it's fun. And as long as, I've done it in points where, you do 40 gigs in a year, and then it's a job and it's not fun. And you're literally like, where are we going this weekend? Valentine and then White River. It's like, no, all my friends are going to be back in Pierre, like on our boat. I don't want to do that anymore. So, we do 12, 15 in a year and it's still fun. So but you don't get really, really good that way. Like I look at like Eclipse, one of the South Dakota, cover party bands. Those guys, a couple of those guys are from Siston. I've known them my whole life. They're starting to slow down, but it used to be 50 weeks out of the year they were gone. Or you look at a band like the Dweebs out of Wisconsin with the family band, and they do like 200 gigs in a year, and it's like, oh my God, that's work, and I don't want to do that. I'm already working and I have kids and stuff. So if we do it just enough, and like tonight, I was getting ready to come on with you, and somebody goes, are we practicing before the 2 gigs? You have to, I guess. So, we'll get together for a couple hours and go through some stuff that maybe we want to do. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. But it's also the guys who you're with, and you got to make sure you get along.
Yep.
All that stuff. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. So yeah, Friday night at the Spur, Saturday night at Drifters, Presho Street Dance on the 31st of this month.
I think so.
Yeah. It'll be fun. If you want to come down, you can ride with us. I won't even make you haul drums or anything.
Oh, I like that. One last question, and you can, I usually have people stay on after we're done recording to talk to them a little bit about how everything went. But one last question, you can answer this or you don't necessarily have to, but talk about how awesome your daughter is.
That's a tough thing. So we've got one daughter. She's 13. She amazes me every day, and it's the poise she has.
Great swimmer.
Yeah, she is a good swimmer. So one story. A couple years ago, we were at the state swim meet in Sioux Falls, and she's right at that level where she's probably going to compete or win the overall title for her age group. She's swimming against Kirk Heinrich, who's a Jayhawk legend. Played with the Bulls.
Kansas.
Actually, yeah, played for the Jayhawks, played for the Bulls. Actually, a really good guy.
Really?
Talked to him. Yeah, he's a really good guy, and a great, like shocked me when I started talking to him, because he was like, "Yeah, your daughter's really good," and I'm like, "Yeah, your daughter's really good." And so we're talking, and he's just like, "This is her thing. I don't push her. She's obviously a really good athlete." She's like, last year we were at a swim meet, and the kid is 4 inches shorter than my daughter, but just a powerhouse. Standing flat-footed, jumps up and grabs the net, a regulation basketball net with both hands, just this little animal. Right? So we're swimming, and she's right there at the level where she's got a chance to win this overall title, which is a big state championship. But in the overall scheme of things, we try to push it with her that, look, it's the experience, and you grow, and winning and losing, and like not putting too much emphasis on the overall, but it's cool to win, right?
Yep.
And she was winning a 200, which is 8 back and forth and a 25, and she miscounted. She was way ahead, and she stopped at 8, or she stopped at 6 instead of 8, and all of a sudden caught herself, and finished and ended up getting second in that race, balling her head off. And I'm down there, and she's 10 at the time, and I'm holding her, and I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. I mean, she's got more athletic ability than I have, and I have a nickel brain, and her brain processes stuff. And she's sitting in my lap, and she's soaking wet. And I went, here's the deal. You got 2 races left. How you bounce back is going to tell me way more than you killing an event and miscounting. I said, how you bounce back. And she went and she won the next event, which she wasn't expected to win, and then finished, I think, second in the next race to finish like overall second in her age group, but she won 2 state championships in those races. And I was just blown away, because I would have melted down, right? I mean, I would have totally been like, if that would have happened to me, I would have probably just walked out of the place and just went, I'm done swimming for the day. I don't care, whatever. So, she's just wired differently than I am, and her brain works. Like last night we played, so it's league championship, Pierre fast pitch softball, right? She goes out, pitches a really good game, hits the ball really well. Championship game, hits the ball really well, makes an unassisted double play to kind of kill a rally. And the coaches, or some of the dads and the coaches, are all sitting around. My dad's in the truck, and it's dark, and we're drinking a beer, and I thought my wife and daughter had left. All of a sudden I look up and I see our vehicle there. And so I go driving over there, and my daughter, for some reason in her brain, she went after everybody had left, and they had celebrated. They were doing all their goofy glove throws, and everybody celebrated. She went down and just went and sat out in the outfield after they turned the lights on, or turned the lights off. And she's just soaking it in afterwards. Right. And I just went, what, I would never think about doing something like that. And she goes, well, I didn't want it to end. And also, like, that was really cool, right? I don't want it to end. So I'm here and I'm doing that stuff. So, good athlete, but her brain is like, she's just calm and like has enough foresight as a 13-year-old to kind of take it all in. Right. So, I mean, everybody brags about their kids, but that was just, there's those moments when I look at her and go, whose kid, where did this come from? My dad's sitting here now next to me, and we had the red ass, right? You lost and you were mad, and you went home and you pouted about it, and then you kind of picked yourself up and did it. But like those things, those moments with her, and I see it in some of her other buddies and stuff too, but like I wasn't wired that way, right? So yeah, it's cool. And she can play piano and she can sing, and she's also fearless like me. So, maybe someday she can make $10 more than I did playing music too. So
Well, thank you for coming on here. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you emotional there, but
No. I caught myself. I had enough bush lights in the old tumbler that I was okay.
yeah. All right. Well,
No, thanks for having me on. I've been begging you and pestering you, and
yeah, you have.
anytime, and I'm willing to come on and help and or be a guest or a co-host or whatever you want, man, anytime. But I've got also this. Don't let me forget this, and this is now you have to come ice fishing with me. So
That's true. That's true. I think the last time I went ice fishing would have been with the Tursa boys years ago.
right,
I know
well,
I know that's a name you probably know.
oh yeah, but that was the deal. I'd come on and do this, but you got to come ice fishing with me, brother.
Yep. Yeah. Who's bringing the bush lights? Yeah, because Summer Shandy will be out of style then.
Right. Oh, I always got a little bit of that laying around in the garage too.
But yep. Stick around and
Yeah, man.
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scootsy.